Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and everybody else, welcome to this week's weekly roundup of live streams of organ recitals and concerts for the week of May 12th to May 19th. I'm John Phil here for Access Arts Live to give you all the news that we could find for you about these live streams. And there are a good number of them. I think there's almost a dozen this week. So I want to get right to it. We have got for you this week, we have up and coming young organists. We have established and distinguished organists on magnificent organs, on more modest organs. We have organs playing with saxophones and harps, organs playing with the theremin. We've got organs playing with other organs. We've got organ music galore being live streamed to you this week. All of it free of charge. So remember to like this video on Facebook and or subscribe to Access Arts Live on our other platforms, YouTube, X, TikTok, Instagram, or Threads, or LinkedIn, if that's where you happen to be watching this. And you will continue to get the live links to more than 1,000 live performances online this year and every year. How about that? I think that's quite a buildup. I think that's somewhat impressive. Let me then move right into the first of this week's organ recitals because it's happening today, just later today, Tuesday, May 13th. I would like to pull up for you a photograph of the young man who is doing this particular live stream. Quite a guy. There he is. Tuesday, May 13th, St. James Cathedral Toronto hosts the young blogger and musician Joshua Duncan Lee for its weekly organ recital live stream at 1:00 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time in Toronto. That'll be at 10 in the morning on the West Coast and 7 in the evening in Europe. I had to scratch to find a lot of information about Joshua Duncan Lee. He was the organ scholar at the Metropolitan United Church in 2022. And before that, he began studying the organ back in 2016 with Ian Sadler at the Cathedral Church of St. James, traveled the world with the Cathedral Singers of Ontario. We don't know what he's playing. They never tell us this. We give you the link on YouTube, and we give you the link also to the organ specs. The organ has 87 ranks, 67 speaking stops, over 4 manuals and 6 divisions, 5,101 pipes. In its latest reincarnation, it was entirely rebuilt in 1976 by L.I. Phelps and Associates. So that's what you have coming up today. If you have a hunger for to get to hearing some organ music right away, well, it's there for you, folks. And we can then move on to the next live stream. I'm not sure if I have a photo for the next live stream. Actually, we will see. I'll have to dig up my notes. Yeah, this is a guy, I couldn't find his photo. Wednesday, May 14th, Glasgow University Chapel is live streaming Alan Kitchen of Wellington Parish Church, Glasgow, playing their Henry Willis III organ. That'll be at 1:10 p.m. British time, 2:10 European time, 8:10 in the morning on the East Coast, 5:10 on the West Coast, and 11:10 p.m. Down under in Australia. We don't know what he's playing. I couldn't find a picture of him, but we give you the link so you can know more about this chapel organ, which was built by Henry Willis III in 1927, refurbished by Harrison and Harrison in Durham in 2005. I don't know if I can include the link because there's limits on how many links we can add, but you can look up Alan Kitchen. He did a documentary for JapandeskScotland.com explaining pipe organs. Or you can take a look at our own Access Arts Live. I did a great interview with Thomas Hospital, one of the resident organists at who plays the magnificent Van den Heuvel organ at the St. Eustache Church, it's on our YouTube page in the interview section. But let's move along then to someone whom I do have a picture of. We started out with a very young blogger who does a lot of other things besides playing the organ. And now we move along to a very distinguished guy, sort of at the other end of the spectrum. Wednesday, May 14th, the Temple Church London live streams its distinguished resident organist and music director, Charles Andrews, playing the Harrison and Harrison organ. That'll be at 2:15 European time, 8:15 in the morning on the East Coast, 5:15 on the West Coast, and 11:15 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time. It's about the same time as the Glasgow University Chapel live stream and the Queen's University Chapel live stream, which I'll tell you about in a moment. Charles Andrews, again, we don't know what he's going to be playing, but, we know the instrument he's going to be playing. He's not only the organist of the Temple Church, he's also professor of organ and organ coordinator at the Royal College of Music. So I think he knows what he's doing. That organ it's a Harrison and Harrison limited organ, which was first built back in 1927 up in Scotland and inaugurated by Marcel Dupré, the great French organist. They brought it down to London in 1954 and reinstalled it. It's a 4-manual organ with 3 32-feet stops. And it was recently overhauled about a decade ago, again at the Harrison and Harrison Workshop in Durham. So I guess they had a lot of work recently. Anyway, if you want to hear a top distinguished organist who's probably not going to screw up, well, Charles, it's hard to find a more sure person to listen to than Charles Andrews, the guy who virtually runs the organ program at the Royal College of Music. I mean, he's got to know something. I think I have listened to him and enjoyed him. However, this next one from Queen's College is very interesting too, and it might be a difficult choice. Wednesday, May 14th, Queen's College Oxford's organ recital live stream features the highly accomplished organist Susanne Rohn, a professor of conducting at the Mainz Musikhochschule in Germany. That's right, Susanne Rohn. That'll be at 2:10 European time, 8:10 in the morning, Eastern time, 5:10 Western time, 11:10 in the evening, Australian Eastern Standard Time. It's running right along at the same time as the organ recitals at the Temple Church London and Glasgow University Chapel. Susanne Rohn, she has just a great pedigree, studied church music, Kirchen music at the Freiburg Conservatory when she was starting out, then the organ at the Lyon National Conservatory in France, then the harpsichord at the Toulouse Conservatoire in France, and then she finished up about 27 years ago, 1997, at the Freiburg Musikhochschule. But she's also very active as a conductor, and she's conducted nearly all the important oratoria now, as well as other orchestral works. She taught conducting at the Freiburg School at the beginning. Then she taught organ at the University of Mainz. Then she was a conducting professor at the Musikhochschule in Dusseldorf. And since 2011, she's been back at Mainz teaching conducting. She's got several recordings out. I mean, this is another, fine, very accomplished musician. How do you choose between that and Charles Andrews? I don't know. You might choose her, though, because you're less likely to have heard her before, and she's not in London all the time the way Charles Andrews is. I'm not saying that's what you should do. I'm just saying that could be a thought. Or you could choose Charles Andrews because he's tried and true. And we don't know what either of them are playing, so they don't help us in that regard at all. So what do we move on to next, John? Well, next, John, we have a highly interesting live stream coming to us out of Tomsk. There you go. It's an organist and a theremin player. That's the Russians love to have posters for their concerts. I can also show you just a couple of photos of the two of them that I put together. One of them you'll know, the organist is Maria Blazevich, whom if you're following us, she's one of the resident organists, concert organists at the Tomsk Phil. But the other person is Olesya Rostovskaya. I want to do a proper introduction for this because we may do a clip. Thursday, May 15th, the Tomsk Phil live streams an organ theremin duo, that electronic instrument which was invented in Russia but banned by Stalin, along with all other electronic instruments in the late 1930s. That'll be at 7 o'clock in the evening Siberian time, 1 o'clock in the afternoon in Europe on Thursday, 7 in the morning on the East Coast, 4 in the morning on the West Coast, but an impeccable 9 in the evening down under in Australia. Olesya Rostovskaya learned to play the theremin from the grandniece of theremin, who invented the instrument at the Theremin Center at the Moscow Conservatory. They have a center for it. Theremin invented this in 1919, and it was extremely popular as a kind of revolutionary electronic music. Strangely enough, the Russian Revolution ended up banning it, but that's Joe Stalin, you know. And Fritz Lang used it in the music to the film Metropolis and to that great film M, I think, which had Peter Lorre in it in his first big role, and he's just being chased everywhere around the town. And it was also used by Varese, Martineau, Ives, Greger. Eisenstein was planning to use it, but then it got banned. So this is an organ theremin duo. I think it'll be intriguing music to listen to, whether you love the organ or whether you love the theremin, or just whether you've never heard the two of them played together before, which I haven't, although maybe in some horror movie that's been done. The theremin is used a lot in horror movies, and so are organs, as a matter of fact. So. And then what do we have coming up next? I think coming up next we have something that I just want to mention to you, but I don't know that I necessarily have a photo for you. Yeah, this is another concert which is barely an organ concert, but you know, I might as well tell you about it because there's an organ in it, and it'll be coming from the Catholic Cathedral in Moscow. But the main character, and it's not an organist, it's this guy, Anton Kotikov. So let me tell you about it briefly. Wednesday, May 14th, Artbene live streams a concert called Renaissance and Shades of Jazz. Renaissance music played by jazz expert Anton Kotikov, along with accompanied with the organ, harp, and sax and voice. Boy, did I screw that introduction up entirely. Well, there you go. Anton Kotikov plays saxophone, flute, duduk, and beatbox. And he's going to be playing music by Monteverdi, Caccini, Purcell, William Byrd, stuff like that, but revisioning it in jazz format. But a lot of this early music had interesting rhythms to it. To give you some examples, he'll play Monteverdi's Si Dolce Tormento. He'll play Greensleeves, the English piece. Several pieces by Henry Purcell, like Hark, Hark, the Echoing Air, played jazz style. William Byrd's Volta, Caccini's Amarilli. That's enough. I may talk a little bit more about this when I do the chamber music roundup at 6:30 this evening, in case you want to tune back in for that. But that's what we have as just an additional organ concert. But we are by no means done with organ concerts and recitals coming out of Russia. There's just an awful lot this week. And this is one. Next one is by a very charming couple whom I like very much, and they've live streamed before. So it's good to have them back, and it sounds like a great concert. Friday, May 16th, Artbene live streams a presentation based on Peer Gynt, both by Grieg and by Henrik Ibsen, played by an experienced organ duo with actors reciting parts of Ibsen and sand animation to boot. I mean, they're just throwing in everything but the kitchen sink there at the Roman Catholic Church in Moscow. It's the picture there, that's Anna Vetlugina and Dmitry Maximenko. Anna is one of the resident organists at the Catholic Cathedral. Dmitry is the organist at the Anglican Church of St. Andrew in Moscow. There's a couple of actors. I doubt you would know their names. Evgeny Polyakov and Olga Bondareva, who'll be doing portions of the play Peer Gynt by Ibsen. And Lydia Miller, I can show you a picture of Lydia, will be doing the sand animation. And I just find that sand animation is absolutely captivating during these concerts. She does these sand images, which are projected on a video screen in the church, but also on your screen when you're watching. And I think she's terrific, and it's just lovely. Very often they do this for like children's fairy tales and things, but this will be, she'll be depicting scenes from the story of Peer Gynt, which is a very dramatic story. If you don't know it, you might want to look it up. I don't have time to recount all of it for you. I'm sorry, but wow. And they'll be playing, the arrangements were all done by Vetlugina and Maximenko themselves. There are 4 Norwegian dances that they'll be doing that are a part of this. And then they'll be doing Anitra's dance, and In the Hall of the Mountain King, and Solveig's song, Ba-dum, ba-dee-dee, da-da-da-da-da-da-dum, da-da-dee-da-dum-dee-dee. There you go. I got a little bit of singing in this time. Again, I love it when I get to do that. Okay, we're about 15, 16 minutes into this, so let's start moving toward the conclusion. And what we have next is the Reverend Canon Martin Green. This is also on Friday. Friday, May 16th at 1 in the afternoon Pacific time, 4 o'clock Eastern Daylight Time, and 10 in the evening in Europe. Canon Martin Green once again will be playing the organ and live streaming it from St. Paul's Episcopal Church in San Diego. This guy's terrific. He's articulate, he's engaging. He tells you what he selected and why, and it's usually an interesting mix of European and American composers. And he does that in ways which do not leave you behind in the musicological dust, as I like to say. So we don't know what he's going to be playing. The organ itself, it has an interesting history. It's the oldest in the San Diego area. It was completely rebuilt in 1969 by Aeolian Skinner, Opus 1495, and then rebuilt completely again in 2012 by Quimby Pipe Organs, Opus 68. Not all organs have opus numbers. 4 manuals, 98 stops, 86 ranks, 115 draw knobs, and 4,933 pipes. So put that in your pipes and smoke it. I'm sorry. I couldn't help it. I'm sorry. All right. I think we have 2 or 3 live streams left. Let me tell you about them. The next one is the weekly live stream that always comes out from St. Eustache Church, and it's always high quality. Sunday, May 18th, St. Eustache Church in Paris, live streams organist Anaïs Payerne playing Franz Liszt and Jean Guillou on the magnificent Vanden Heuvel, one of the largest organs in France. 5 p.m. European time in the heart of Paris. And that'll be 11 in the morning on the East Coast and 8 in the morning on the West Coast. She'll be playing Franz Liszt's variations on Weine Klagen Oxorgen and Jean Guillou's 18 variations. I didn't know that Jean Guillou just died about 5 years ago. I didn't know he was still around that late. Anyway, it was hard for me to find information about Anaïs Payerne aussi. She started out she was taking classes with Jean-Baptiste Monod at the Saint-Ouen Abbey. And then she was studying at the Conservatory at Versailles. And she may now be a student of Thomas Hospital and Olivier Latry at the Paris Conservatory, because very often the young people that come here and play this organ, they are students of Thomas Hospital, who is one of the resident organists there. We give you the link also to, I think, if we don't, you can check it on our website. If you want more information about that organ, you can go to our YouTube page, and in the interview section, I have a 35-minute live stream interview with Thomas Hospital. Tells us so much about the details of how this organ is constructed, how it needs to be renovated, and what else does he tell us? He tells us how the architecture of the church interacts with the organ to create the sound that you receive. The Vanden Heuvel organ has 101 stops, 5 manuals, 7,900 52 pipes, which makes it virtually the equivalent of the organ that they always, everybody always gets excited about at the Cathedral of Notre Dame. Well, one of the differences is that Thomas told me about is the Saint Eustache Cathedral church is not as long as Notre Dame, and it has had these higher vaults, the galleries on the sides, which creates a magnificent sound and a more balanced sound. Notre Dame Cathedral is so long and so deep that you really have to push the sound out to get it all the way through, meaning generally they have to play a much brassier organ sound to fill up that church. How about that? That's interesting. You don't hear that every day, do you? No, you don't. Anyway, we have one more live stream I want to tell you about, which is not this week, technically speaking, but it's next week. But we won't be back before next week, before next Monday. So I want to tell you about Monday's live stream, also coming out of Tomsk. It's interesting. And it's simple to tell you about. Monday, May 19th, the Tomsk Philharmonic's former artistic director and current resident organist, Dmitry Ushakov, plays an all Buxtehude program by popular request. That'll be at 7 o'clock Krat time in Siberia, 1 o'clock in Europe, 7 in the morning on the East Coast, 9 in the evening Australian Eastern Standard Time. As with all of the Tomsk live streams, you go to their website for it and you go to the news page and there will be a poster. The top poster that day on the news page will be the one you click on to get to the live stream. Included in what he's going to be playing are Buxtehude's choral fantasy, Rejoice, Beloved Christians, and preludes in E minor, C major, and D major. Ushakov does a lot of sort of instructional organ playing on Mondays. And sometimes he does by request. And he did a whole long series of the works of Bach. And when he finished it, he asked his listeners who he should do next. And they all voted for Buxtehude. So he's going to be doing a series of this coming on in the future. If you're interested in that, keep track of us because we will keep track of it for you. As I said in the beginning, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and everybody else, that's it for this week's roundup of organ recital live stream from San Diego to Tomsk with saxophones and harps and with other organs and with theremins. And what a great week for those who really enjoy listening to organ music. And I know so many of you do because we get a lot of likes from organ lovers when we post our roundup on organ lovers pages on Facebook. I hope that I will be back. Let me remind you, I'll be back at 6:30 European time today, which will be 12:30 on the East Coast in the US and 9:30 on the West Coast, do the chamber and world music roundup this week. Because we have chamber music, very classic, but also a lot of world music kind of stuff going on that I wanted to include, at least a dozen pieces. I hope that one, more, some, or any of these organ recitals or concerts inspires you, uplifts you, or just shows you a heck of a good time. I'm thinking of the one with the theremin. I mean, come on, that's got to be cool. And let me remind you before I say goodbye, if you're watching this on Facebook, please like the video. If you're watching this on any of our other platforms, please don't just like the video, like us. Follow and or subscribe to Access Arts Live on YouTube, X, TikTok, Instagram, Threads, or LinkedIn, and we'll continue to make sure that you get live links to more than 1,000 live performances online this year and every year. Ciao for now. I will be back in, just about